The beach house my parents bought me was given by my wife to her assistant to live in. Ethan Hayes posted a 9-photo grid from a pool party on his social media feed, complete with location tag, "Thanks to the president for the luxurious villa." I'll definitely keep striving in the photos sent by the housekeeper. The courtyard sculpture was smashed, and the flowers I planted were all dug up. I immediately forwarded the photos to Victoria Bellwether. "What is the meaning of this, Miss Bellwether? Why is someone else in my villa?" Victoria instantly replied with a voice message, the sound of waves in the background. "Don't be so petty, Sincere. We have plenty of places to live. I want him out of there within 3 hours and the villa restored to its original state." Victoria read the message but didn't reply. 5 minutes later, I auctioned off the villa for $1. Her antique collection was smashed to smithereens by me. Since someone wouldn't listen, I didn't mind teaching her a lesson on how to behave. Chapter 1. Just as I put down my phone, it rang again. It was Victoria Bellwether, who had just left my message on read. "Sincere Clark, what on earth did you do? Why was Ethan Hayes thrown out by security?" Victoria's voice was laced with obvious anger. My tone was calm. "That villa was mine. I just sold it. The new owner's only condition was to clear out everyone and everything inside within the hour." There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. "Sincere, have you misunderstood something? There's nothing going on between Ethan Hayes and me. He's just my assistant." Victoria's tone softened. "Don't you think you're being a bit too aggressive and overly sensitive?" I couldn't help but laugh. "Victoria Bellwether, it's clearly you who doesn't know how to maintain boundaries, how to conduct yourself properly. How can you turn around and accuse me?" Victoria didn't respond to the question, skillfully changing the subject. "Sincere, you own so many other villas. Leaving them empty is a waste. I was just making reasonable use of resources. Ethan Hayes and I really haven't done anything inappropriate." She paused, her voice becoming slightly impatient. "I never realized you were so petty." I curled my lip, but my eyes turned cold. "Since Ms. Bellwether is so generous, I assume you won't mind if those precious treasures of yours turn into a pile of junk?" With that, I opened my photo album, selected a few pictures, and sent them over. The photos showed Victoria's cherished antique collection, accumulated over many years, smashed into tiny pieces scattered across the floor. The line went quiet for several seconds. "Sincere Clark." She enunciated my full name syllable by syllable. I knew this was a sign of her extreme fury, but I didn't care. "Victoria Bellwether, you saw the photos, didn't you? This is the price for trying to test my limits. If you dare to cross the line like this again, you'll lose far more than just these worthless trinkets." I hung up immediately, giving her no chance to argue back. In the years since our wedding, we rarely had heated arguments. But that didn't mean I would back down out of fear of conflict. Once boundaries in a marriage start to recede, it only invites the other party to push further. Besides, this marriage didn't begin out of pure love in the first place. The Bellwether family was desperate to break into the elite circles of high society back then, and needed the Clark family's influence, which led to this business alliance. When we first met, Victoria Bellwether showed her meticulousness and gentleness. She was also beautiful and handled business matters thoughtfully and appropriately. At the time, I thought perhaps sharing a life with someone like her wouldn't be so bad, so I didn't object to the family arrangement. Fortunately, as we spent time together after marriage, feelings grew between us. She and I shared some truly sweet moments and were once seen by the outside world as a perfect match, a power couple. However, at every stage, I clearly understood that I always came first. Later, the passion faded, and life settled into a stable routine. I buried myself in work, and she focused on her career. I could understand and accept that all relationships eventually mellow or even dissipate, but I would never allow the reason for that dissipation to be the intrusion of a third party. Ever since I was young, the thing I detested most was other people touching my things. If an object got dirty, I'd throw it away without hesitation. If a person became tainted, the method of disposal was the same. Chapter 2. Victoria Bellwether didn't contact me again. She was always like this. Once her mistakes were exposed, she'd retreat into silence, hiding in her shell. Until this afternoon, a message popped up from Julian Vance. Sincere, why are you ignoring me? I saw you at the venue just now, called your name several times, but you didn't react. I frowned slightly, quickly replying, I haven't left the house today. You must have seen someone else. Are you sure it wasn't you? I saw that custom navy blue suit you had made, and your wife was with him. Sincere, wait. I got a picture of his face. A photo quickly appeared on my phone. Victoria Bellwether was wearing an elegant, appropriate white gown, her hair pinned up, and beside her stood Ethan Hayes, wearing my custom-tailored suit, smiling as he chatted with someone. I stared at the photo for a good 10 seconds. Before I could react, another message popped up. This time it was from Victoria's executive assistant, accompanied by a screenshot. It was Ethan Hayes' social media feed. First time attending the summit auction, thanks to Ms. Bellwether for showing me the ropes. Finally know what real high society is like, excited emoji. The accompanying picture showed him sitting in the front row of the auction, with Victoria Bellwether beside him, a slight smile on her lips, clearly condoning his selfie and caption. I suddenly remembered something. Victoria hated having her picture taken. Even during the sweetest period of our relationship, if I wanted to take a couple's photo, she would shy away, saying she wasn't photogenic. It seemed my punishment this morning was too light. Not only did she dare bring another man to the most exclusive auction in high society circles, but she even let him wear my suit and allowed him to post a picture together on social media to show off. I forwarded the photo directly to Victoria Bellwether. Explain this. Why is he wearing my suit? The message showed as read, but there was no reply. A few minutes later, I took a photo and sent it to her. Julian's message popped up immediately after. Sincere, what did you send Ms. Bellwether? She just suddenly stood up and rushed out. Ethan Hayes couldn't even hold her back. I didn't reply to him because Victoria's call was already coming through. In the photo I sent, I was sitting by the fireplace, holding a small, exquisitely crafted wooden box. The surface of the box was spotless, clearly wiped and maintained often. Sincere. Put that down. Victoria's voice trembled slightly, tinged with obvious panic and anger. What do you think you're doing? Inside the wooden box were some carefully preserved items, a few yellowed photographs, a bracelet, and a delicate brooch. The boy in the photos had a bright, radiant smile. This was Victoria Bellwether's white moonlight, her first love who had supposedly died from illness. The Bellwether family had mentioned it unintentionally once. I suddenly understood the reason for all of Victoria's recent abnormal behavior. Ethan Hayes bore a 7 or 8/10 resemblance to her white moonlight. Sincere, don't touch those things. Victoria's voice was almost pleading, laced with tears. Victoria Bellwether, you know I've always hated people touching my things. Just like how you feel right now. Now immediately have Ethan Hayes take off that suit. There are lounges at the auction house, make him change. Silence hung on the line for a few seconds. Sincere, don't you only wear those suits once anyway? Victoria softened her tone. What's the big deal if he wears clothes you're discarding? I chuckled softly, but my voice grew colder. Victoria Bellwether, my things, even if I discard them, are not for others to touch. You have two choices now. Either make Ethan Hayes take off that suit before the auction starts, or... I shook the box in my hand, the items inside rattling faintly. Face the consequences. With that, I hung up. Chapter 3. Over the next while, messages from Julian kept popping up. Sincere, what did you say to her just now? Your Ms. Bellwether rushed back in, white as a sheet, didn't say a word, just dragged Ethan Hayes out. Wait, they're back, my God. What is going on? Is Ethan Hayes wearing a security guard's uniform? My lips curved upwards. This outcome was even better than I'd anticipated. Sincere, Ethan Hayes' expression, oh my God, it's priceless. Everyone's looking at them and whispering. I'm getting second-hand embarrassment just watching. Julian, take a few pictures for me. Julian quickly sent several photos. In them, Victoria Bellwether sat rigidly, expressionless. Ethan Hayes, however, was wearing an ill-fitting black uniform, his carefully styled hair completely messed up, eyes red and swollen. This auction has extremely high entry requirements. You can't leave midway. This kid has to sit through the entire event dressed as a security guard. Julian's tone dripped with schadenfreude. Your wife looks livid. Sincere, this move was brilliant. And Ethan Hayes, who did he think he was messing with? Daring to provoke you. He probably won't even know what hit him in the end. After the auction ended, Julian sent another message. When they left, your wife's face was practically purple with rage. Ethan Hayes kept his head down like a frightened quail, wishing the ground would swallow him whole. Julian sent a new photo. The navy blue suit was now discarded in a trash can. Sincere got the shot. I immediately posted the photo to my social media feed with a simple caption, "Trash belongs in the trash can." Within 5 minutes, the likes surpassed 100. Anyone astute could see that the suit in the trash can was the exact one Ethan Hayes had flaunted on his feed. My meaning was unmistakable. Sincere, Ms. Bellwether lost a lot of face today. Won't she blow up at you when she gets home? I replied casually, "Don't worry. Even if you gave her 10 times the nerve, she wouldn't dare." That evening, when Victoria Bellwether returned home, the atmosphere was thick with tension. She walked up to me. "Sincere Clark, where are my things?" she asked, her voice hoarse, eyes slightly red. I just stared at her silently, saying nothing. Victoria struggled to control her emotions. "Sincere, I admit my actions today were inappropriate. I didn't consider your feelings. It was my mistake. But I did as you asked. I lost face in front of everyone. Can we please stop this fighting? Just give me back my things." She spoke softly, looking at me almost pleadingly. I raised an eyebrow. "Victoria Bellwether, you lost face because of your own improper actions, not because of me. Aren't you going to explain what happened today?" Victoria avoided my gaze. "We have a purely professional relationship. I was just rewarding Ethan Hayes for doing a good job." I scoffed, pressing closer. "Victoria Bellwether, there are so many ways to reward someone. Why did you choose the worst possible one? A luxury villa, a prestigious auction, a ridiculously expensive suit. To an ordinary person, you know exactly what these things symbolize. You wouldn't even take the couple's photo I asked for, yet you were willing to be pictured with him. Every time you indulge him, you're sending him a positive signal. That's why he's become increasingly brazen, even daring to provoke me. Besides, is his inadequate work performance truly deserving of your rewards?" Victoria lowered her head, remaining silent. "Your favoritism towards him is just because he strongly resembles your white moonlight, isn't it?" I bluntly exposed her thoughts. A substitute is still just a substitute. He can never become the person in your heart. Victoria Bellwether, you need to distinguish between them. Her breathing grew heavier, still silent, tears streaming down her face. I took the small wooden box from behind my back and handed it to her, my tone softening slightly. "Victoria, I understand your attachment to him, and I never intended to destroy the precious memory between you two. But I hope you won't destroy what's precious between us either. What happened today was the first time, and it must be the last." Victoria took the small wooden box, set it aside, then suddenly threw herself at me, hugging me tightly. "Sincere, I'm sorry," she sobbed, her voice thick with emotion. "I truly know I was wrong. There's really nothing else between Ethan Hayes and me. I'll definitely keep my distance from him from now on. Something like today will absolutely never happen again. Please don't be angry anymore, okay?" She lifted her tear-streaked face, her eyes red and swollen. Her voice held a plea, her arms wrapped tightly around my waist. I sighed softly, ultimately choosing to yield. Then I lowered my head and bit her lip hard. Only when a trace of blood seeped from the corner of her mouth did I release her, satisfied. "Victoria, this is the consequence of offending me. Remember, there must never be a next time." "Okay." Victoria showed no impatience, nestling obediently in my arms. I swept her up into my arms and carried her into the bedroom. Chapter 4. After a night of candid intimacy, most of my displeasure had dissipated. The next day, the auction incident and my pointed social media post made Ethan Hayes the laughingstock of the entire company. Victoria Bellwether's obvious efforts to distance herself from him set the tone for everyone else. The company had no shortage of sycophants who kiss up and kick down. Colleagues who had been fawning over him just the day before were now, at best, refraining from kicking him while he was down. Someone even plastered numerous photos of Ethan Hayes wearing the security uniform at the auction on the company bulletin board. In the photos, Ethan looked disheveled, his eyes red, utterly miserable. People passing him by didn't hesitate to point and whisper, "That's him, the shameless one, wearing Mr. Clark's cast-off clothes." Ethan Hayes's days at the company became increasingly difficult. The cafeteria staff would tamper with his meals. He often took one bite of food and his expression would change drastically. When he went to the restroom, the door would suddenly lock, trapping him inside for an entire afternoon. The most ridiculous part was that everyone pretended nothing had happened that day. His calls for help to Victoria Bellwether were directly rejected. I heard about these incidents from Ms. Young. "Mr. Clark, should I intervene?" I shook my head. "Ms. Young, don't overestimate my mercy, nor underestimate his ambition. Since he chose this path, he must bear the consequences." A week later, Ms. Young informed me that Ethan Hayes hadn't shown up for work for 3 consecutive days. I assumed he had finally given up and was preparing to resign. But it turned out I had underestimated him. That day, Victoria Bellwether had a crucial international business negotiation, a deal worth at least $100 million. 20 minutes before the meeting, Victoria's phone rang. It was Ethan Hayes. She pressed the reject button expressionlessly, but immediately after he sent a text message. "Ms. Bellwether, I'm sorry to disturb you at this final moment. I wanted to thank you in person, but alas, fate has brought us to this point. Thank you for your trust and guidance. Meeting you has been the greatest fortune of my life. I will repay your kindness in the next life." Victoria's face instantly turned deathly pale. She frantically tried calling back, but the calls went unanswered. Victoria panicked. In her desperation, she had her assistant use a tracking system to find Ethan's location. "Postpone today's negotiation." She uttered this sentence and rushed out, disregarding everything, a stark contrast to her usual elegance. When Victoria arrived at Ethan Hayes's apartment, she found him unconscious in the bathtub. Blood seeped continuously from a wound on his left wrist, staining the entire bathwater red. His face was as white as paper, his breathing faint. Victoria screamed, frantically tearing her own clothes to stanch the bleeding, rushing him to the hospital. It was said that on the way, Ethan's body gradually grew cold, reminding her of the moment her white moonlight died in her arms. Fortunately, he received timely medical attention, and Ethan was ultimately saved. After learning about the various forms of bullying Ethan had recently endured at the company, Victoria flew into a rage. Usually gentle and composed, she smashed her phone in anger. But I knew none of this at the time. I happened to be at the same hospital undergoing tests for acute gastroenteritis. Just as I saw her emerge from the elevator, thinking she had come to see me, I happily walked towards her. Before I could speak, Victoria slapped me hard across the face. Caught off balance, I stumbled and fell, my stomach knotting in pain. My cheek stung fiercely. I was completely stunned by the blow. In all our years of marriage, she had rarely spoken harshly to me, let alone ever laid a hand on me. "Sincere Clark, how could you be so despicable, so disgusting?" Victoria looked down at me, her eyes blazing with anger and revulsion. "I already kept my distance from Ethan Hayes as you demanded. Do you have to drive him to his death before you're satisfied?" I looked at her, bewildered. "He's lying in the emergency room right now, and you come over here smiling. What are you trying to do? Are you going to push him to suicide again? How could I have married such a despicable, shameless low-life like you?" I clutched the test results in my hand, wanting to explain, but she didn't spare another glance at me curled up on the floor, simply turned and walked away. Watching her receding back, I managed to piece together the situation from the curses Victoria had hurled at me. Ethan Hayes had attempted suicide, and Victoria thought I had driven him to it. Immediately after, I received a call from Ms. Young. "Mr. Clark, I'm calling to say goodbye. Ms. Bellwether just fired me for abuse of power, and she appointed Assistant Hayes to take over my position." What? It's not just me. Almost all employees who ever had friction with Assistant Hayes were let go. Victoria had stated her position in the strongest possible terms. She had chosen Ethan Hayes. Hanging up the phone, fury surged through me. I punched the wall, blood trickling from my knuckles, dripping onto the floor. I forced myself to calm down. "Victoria Bellwether, since you've taken things this far, don't blame me for being ruthless. The price for offending me is far greater than you can bear." Chapter 5. That same afternoon, I packed my things and moved out of the Bellwether residence, returning to the Clark family home. My father, learning I was back, didn't ask many questions, just quietly instructed the housekeeper to prepare my room. My mother, however, keenly sensed something was wrong. "Sincere, did you and Victoria have a fight?" She sat on the edge of my bed, asking softly. I shook my head without answering. The bandage on my hand from the injury at the hospital was visible. "What happened here?" My mother grasped my wrist, her brow furrowed. "It's nothing, just bumped it accidentally." I didn't tell them about Victoria hitting me, nor did I mention Ethan Hayes. I just said I wanted to come home and rest for a few days, to recalibrate. But my parents could easily find out everything with a little investigation. Half a month passed. Not a single call, not a single text message from Victoria Bellwether. The Cold War and mutual silence eroded the last vestiges of warmth between us. On social media, I saw Ethan Hayes ostentatiously posting photos of himself attending various events with Victoria. Every angle he carefully chose seemed to announce his impending status as the son-in-law of the Bellwether Corporation. Ms. Bellwether took me to the International Business Summit today. Lots of people thought I was her husband thanks to Ms. Bellwether for the limited edition watch. Truly, only the person who understands me best knows what I like. Ms. Bellwether says I'm her lucky star. Closed another big deal today, post after post, accompanied by intimate photos with Victoria. He was doing it deliberately. He knew I would see them. I chuckled softly and turned off my phone. Grasshoppers in autumn don't hop for long. Half a month later, under my arrangement, led by my father, a large number of Bellwether family shareholders collectively withdrew their investments. The Bellwether stock hit the limit down for several consecutive days. On the third day of the stock plummeting, Victoria's parents showed up at our door. "Sincere, dear, how have you been lately?" Eleanor Bellwether took my hand, her face full of concern. "Quite well," I replied blandly, pouring them tea. "Why did you suddenly move back home?" "Victoria said you weren't feeling well. We were very worried about you." Eleanor Bellwether probed tentatively. Victoria hadn't even bothered to call, but now she'd sent her parents to scout for information. "My precious son is perfectly healthy, just not in the best of moods lately." My father suddenly spoke up, his tone icy. Arthur and Eleanor Bellwether paused, exchanging glances. "What happened? Did that girl Victoria upset Sincere?" Arthur Bellwether frowned. My father sneered, placing his teacup down heavily on the table. The Bellwether family's upbringing is truly eye-opening. Arthur and Eleanor's faces changed drastically. Word by word, my father recounted everything that had happened recently. How Victoria had installed Ethan Hayes in my beach house, how she had indulged Ethan's provocations against me, and how at the hospital Victoria had jumped to conclusions and blamed everything on me without asking any questions. "Your esteemed daughter has currently dismissed all employees within the company who had any friction with that young man. This is the Bellwether's fine daughter, and her attitude towards Sincere," my father stated coldly. Arthur and Eleanor's faces went from livid to pale, then back again. How is this possible?" Eleanor Bellwether looked at me in disbelief. "Victoria isn't like this. The facts speak for themselves," I said flatly. Arthur Bellwether angrily dialed Victoria's number. Get over here right now, you disgraceful daughter. Doing something like this, you've utterly shamed the Bellwether family." Arthur slammed down the phone, turned to my father and me, apologizing profusely. "I'm sorry, we failed in raising her properly. We will definitely give Sincere a satisfactory resolution to this matter." What kind of resolution could Victoria give me? Falsely tell me that I'm much more important to her than Ethan Hayes? Or honestly tell me she regretted this marriage long ago? Either way, I didn't need it. I stood up and went to my room, retrieving the divorce documents. Today, let this farce finally come to an end. Chapter 6. Soon the main door opened and Victoria Bellwether walked in. What shocked me was that Ethan Hayes actually followed her. He hid behind Victoria, looking timid and apprehensive. My parents' expressions, which had slightly softened due to Arthur and Eleanor's apologies, instantly darkened again. For Victoria to dare bring him here, to my family home, at a time like this, she was foolish beyond saving. Arthur Bellwether rushed towards her, raising his hand and delivering a sharp slap. "Disgraceful daughter, you still dare bring this man here?" Victoria's face instantly flushed red. She clearly hadn't expected her father to strike her in public and froze for a moment. "Dad, listen to my explanation." "Explain what?" Another heavy slap landed on her other cheek. "You've dragged our family's name through the mud, having been struck in front of Ethan Hayes." Victoria's pride was shattered. Just as she was about to retort, Arthur Bellwether lunged forward with a kick. Unexpectedly, Ethan Hayes threw himself forward, shielding Victoria and taking the full force of the blow himself. He cried out in pain, collapsing to the floor, clutching his kicked leg, his face pale, eyes red. Seeing his theatrical display, Eleanor Bellwether trembled with rage. "You wretched scum, still trying to play the victim at a time like this." Eleanor rushed forward to hit him, but Victoria quickly pulled Ethan into her arms protectively. Watching this melodrama unfold, I couldn't help but laugh softly, clapping lightly. What a devoted pair of lovers. Victoria looked up at me, her eyes filled with anger. "Sincere Clark, you despicable liar. Don't you dare slander my relationship with Ethan Hayes. We are completely innocent. There's nothing inappropriate between us," she declared, holding Ethan tightly. "I am merely atoning for your previous excessive actions." At this remark, my father shot up from his seat, furious. How were my son's actions excessive? Arthur Bellwether slapped Victoria again. "Shut up, say one more word, and I'll break your legs." Arthur turned back to me, forcing an apologetic smile, his voice conciliatory. "Sincere, we will definitely give you a satisfactory resolution to this matter." I stood up, surveyed the room, my gaze finally resting on Victoria. Since both sets of parents are present today, and everyone has seen Victoria Bellwether's choice, there's no point in continuing this marriage. I produced the divorce agreement I had prepared earlier. I have drafted and signed the divorce papers. Assets will be divided according to the prenuptial agreement. Chapter 7. Hearing we were getting divorced, the pained expression on Ethan Hayes' face vanished instantly, replaced by a look of triumph in his eyes. Just moments ago he was wailing on the floor. Now he seemed quite spirited. Victoria abruptly pushed Ethan's hand away and walked towards me, disbelief written all over her face. "Sincere, you can't divorce me, why not?" I raised an eyebrow slightly. "You're holding another man, protecting him so fiercely, yet now you tell me we can't divorce?" "I told you Ethan Hayes and I truly just have a normal superior-subordinate relationship," Victoria argued. "Victoria Bellwether, I don't care what your relationship with Ethan Hayes actually is. All I know is that you chose him, not me. Since that's the case, there's no need for us to continue." I looked at her, stating each word clearly. "Victoria Bellwether, remember when we first got married, I told you explicitly, I absolutely hate people touching my things, and you, time and time again, crossed that line. How many chances did I give you? And which one did you ever cherish? Dirty things need to be thrown away. The same goes for people." I looked directly into her eyes. "Victoria Bellwether, I don't want you anymore." Victoria's face turned deathly pale. I picked up the divorce agreement and handed it to her. Assets are divided according to the prenup. It's very fair to you. Victoria didn't take it. Sincere, I won't sign it. You're just acting out of anger right now." Seeing Victoria still refusing, my father stood up. "Ms. Bellwether, if this divorce can be handled amicably, future cooperation can still be discussed. Otherwise, all deals are off." The Bellwether Corporation was already on its last legs. If the cooperation truly collapsed, the losses would be immeasurable. Arthur Bellwether pondered for a moment, then finally shot Victoria a harsh glare. Signed forced by her parents, Victoria finally signed the papers. Victoria Bellwether and I were officially divorced. Ethan Hayes stood aside, unable to hide the smugness in his eyes. I met his gaze, smirking coldly. "Assistant Hayes, congratulations on your successful promotion." This remark made Victoria's parents explode on the spot. "You shameless creature!" Eleanor Bellwether started hitting and cursing Ethan, her voice distorted with rage. "This is all your fault. I summoned the butler. Show our guests out." Just then the housekeeper walked in carrying a bowl of medicine. "Young master, the medicine is ready. Drink it while it's hot." Victoria froze. "Sincere, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" Victoria's voice was incredibly hoarse. "Acute gastroenteritis. Just a minor illness. No need for Ms. Bellwether's concern." "It's normal that Ms. Bellwether wouldn't know, considering it was the day you hit me at the hospital." "You didn't allow me to say a single word before you left," I stated calmly. Victoria's lips trembled. She couldn't speak. Our marriage ended that day. Hearing this, my mother's expression changed abruptly. "What? She dared to hit you?" My mother rushed over to Victoria and slapped her across the face. Victoria stumbled back but didn't resist. "Are you even human? Daring to hit my son? Especially when he was sick," my mother roared. Victoria's lip was bleeding from the blow, but she just stared blankly at me, her eyes filled with pain and regret. "Sincere," she murmured my name, her voice pleading. "Give me one more chance, just one, please." "A chance?" I sneered. "I've given you many chances, haven't I?" Victoria instantly broke down, collapsing to her knees. "Butler, show them out." The butler unceremoniously escorted the Bellwether family out. Arthur pulled up the devastated Victoria, while Eleanor grabbed Ethan by the hair, shoving him towards the door. Chapter 8. The Bellwether Corporation ultimately avoided bankruptcy, but the impact of the divorce was indelible. Within weeks, the company's stock plummeted nearly 40%, multiple partners terminated projects, and over a dozen core investors pulled their funding. Victoria Bellwether was no longer the formidable businesswoman who commanded the corporate world. She shut herself in her villa all day, surrounded by scattered wine bottles. Alcohol became her refuge, moments of sobriety few and far between. Ethan Hayes, unwilling to give up the opportunity he had painstakingly gained, came to the villa every day to care for her. He tidied the rooms, brewed hangover remedies for her, and even carefully cleaned up after her when she was blackout drunk. "Ms. Bellwether, drink some water," Ethan offered, holding a glass. Victoria lifted her bloodshot eyes, her gaze focusing for a moment before clouding over again. "Lawrence, is that you? Are you back?" She reached out, touching Ethan's cheek. Ethan froze. This was the 17th time. 17 times Victoria had mistaken him for her deceased white moonlight. "I'm not Lawrence, I'm Ethan Hayes. Ethan Hayes." He forced down the bitterness in his heart, reminding her repeatedly. Victoria seemed not to hear, muttering to herself, "Lawrence, don't leave again this time, okay?" Enough. Ethan slapped Victoria's hand away, slamming the water glass onto the floor, shattering it. The sound startled Victoria, who looked at him in confusion. "I was such a fool." Ethan's voice trembled. "How could I fall in love with someone like you? You only ever saw me as a substitute. You deserve this. This is all your own doing." Ethan finally erupted, the long-suppressed resentment and jealousy pouring out. "You had a husband you didn't cherish, and now that you've ended up like this, you're still thinking about your damn white moonlight." Victoria's eyes suddenly cleared. the haze of drunkenness largely dissipating. For the first time in days, she was fully lucid. "Ethan Hayes, I forbid you to speak of him like that. Get out." Ethan let out a cold laugh. "Still protecting him at a time like this? Do you know he's not even dead?" Victoria froze completely. "What nonsense are you talking?" "Nonsense? Let me tell you, he never died. He took your parents' money and faked his death and left instructions for you to keep supporting his real girlfriend's company." Ethan screamed hysterically. Victoria lunged, grabbing his throat and pinning him against the wall. "Shut up," he struggled, his face turning purple. Victoria released her grip. Ethan collapsed to the floor, gasping for air. "How do you think I knew all those details about you two? He came to me. He decided your support for his girlfriend wasn't enough. He wanted more, so he found me, helped me climb the ladder to gain more benefits." Victoria's face was deathly pale, her body swaying. "Impossible. Lawrence is dead?" Ethan laughed mockingly. "Go ask your parents. Ask them if they ever gave Lawrence Ashworth $50 million after making a call to confirm." Victoria slumped to the floor. The call was brief, but enough to shatter her. Her father's silence had been too long, his denial too weak. I actually hurt sincere. For two such despicable men," she murmured to herself, her voice broken. Ethan watched her break down, laughing loudly. "Victoria Bellwether, don't blame anyone else. You pushed away the person who loved you most with your own hands." Victoria snapped her head up. "Get out and never let me see you again." Victoria returned to the company. She called an emergency board meeting, decisively cutting ties with several problematic partners. 3 days later, the once thriving Kerr Tech declared bankruptcy. Its founder, Jasmine Kerr, was taken away by the police for investigation into suspected financial fraud. This company was the one founded by Lawrence's girlfriend, the enterprise Victoria had been secretly supporting. Meanwhile, Ethan Hayes received a text from an unknown number. "I know you betrayed me." As night fell, Ethan quickened his pace, feeling persistently that someone was following him. He turned into a small alley, intending to take a shortcut home. The next morning, the front page of the newspaper carried a story. 2 male bodies were discovered in a small alley. Police preliminarily determined it was a case of mutual homicide. Victoria looked at the newspaper, her gaze falling on the 2 names: Ethan Hayes, Lawrence Ashworth. Chapter 9. After the Bellwether family regained some stability, Victoria Bellwether began preparing various stomach-soothing meals. She delivered them to my office every day. Exquisite lunchboxes, opening to reveal carefully arranged dishes, light, nutritious, and visually appealing. Occasionally there were small gifts too: ties, fountain pens, cufflinks. None were cheap, they were clearly chosen with care. I returned everything. Along with the lunchboxes, I had my secretary send them back. She started waiting for me downstairs at the company building, rain or shine, sometimes holding flowers, sometimes carrying a cake, a cautious smile on her face. I ignored her, walking past as if she were a stranger, until one day, she blocked my car on my way home. She rushed out recklessly and knelt on the ground. The rain quickly soaked her dress, her hair plastered wetly to her cheeks. "Sincere, please, forgive me just this once." Her voice was tearful, trembling. I sat in the car, watching her through the window. "Victoria Bellwether, have you caused enough trouble?" My voice was calm, devoid of any emotion. "It's over between us." The driver received my signal and slowly started the car, driving around her. In the rearview mirror, she remained kneeling in the rain, her figure growing smaller. I turned my head away, refusing to look anymore. Some cracks once formed can never be mended. Years later, the Bellwether Corporation was a shadow of its former self. Under my leadership, the Clark Group had expanded its reach into various industries, becoming a leader in each. I stood under the spotlights at a press conference, speaking eloquently, introducing the group's latest tech products, full of confidence and vigor. Thunderous applause filled the room, camera flashes blinking incessantly. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a familiar figure. At the back of the crowd, a somewhat haggard woman stood quietly, dressed in simple clothes, wearing light makeup. It was Victoria Bellwether. She had lost a lot of weight, and her once refined face showed signs of weariness. No longer the radiant business titan from memory. She was looking at me too, her gaze calm and gentle. No resentment, no pleading, no complex emotions. Just a faint, resigned smile, as if saying goodbye to her past self. I gave her a slight smile in acknowledgement. Then, she slowly disappeared into the crowd. The press conference continued, reporters swarming around, clamoring with questions. I withdrew my gaze, putting on a polite smile once more. The future is long, the road ahead far. She and I would both journey towards our respective destined futures. End of story. My wife went to teach in a remote mountain region. I personally saw her off at the platform. While doing the laundry, I accidentally discovered the train ticket to a remote mountain region tucked away in my wife's coat pocket. Only then did I realize that Victoria, my wife, had secretly signed up for a 15-year teaching commitment there, behind my back. And Ethan Hayes, her idealized past love, was also teaching there. With half a month left before her departure, Victoria had an abortion, terminating our child. She contacted her best friend, other friends, family, and former colleagues, holding countless farewell dinners. Yet she never told me she was leaving. 3 days before her departure, I quietly bought a train ticket departing from the same platform as hers, but heading in the exact opposite direction. On the day she left, I boarded my train under Victoria's shocked gaze. I also handed her the divorce papers, along with the evidence of Ethan Hayes' crimes against students. Chapter 1. When Victoria Bellwether came out of the hospital, I knew. Our child was gone. Acting as if I knew nothing, I watched her take the medication meant to induce bleeding right in front of me. I casually asked, "What's wrong?" She looked slightly stunned, then replied nonchalantly, "Just a bit of a cold." I didn't call her out. I simply reminded her, "You're pregnant. You shouldn't be taking just any medicine." Seeing my calm tone and neutral expression, Victoria sensed something was amiss. Previously, whenever she felt unwell, I would immediately get anxious, rush her to the hospital, and apologize profusely for not taking better care of her. But now my reaction was far too composed. She came closer, hugged me, rested her head against my chest, and asked in a soft, tender voice, sincere, "Why aren't you happy?" I pushed her away gently. "It's nothing. I'm going to take a shower." She must have thought she'd hidden everything perfectly, as she didn't press further with any suspicion. Instead, she retrieved several containers of leftovers from the refrigerator. "Sincere, I brought you your favorite crab and steamed pork with rice flour. I'll heat them up for you. They'll be ready when you get out of the shower." Watching her diligently place the food in the microwave, wearing an expression that pleaded for praise, I could only manage a wry, bitter smile. Did she really think I was oblivious? Buying the train ticket behind my back, planning a 15-year teaching stint, aborting our child, inviting her closest friends, family, and former colleagues for numerous farewell parties. This food was likely leftovers from one of those gatherings. And she did all this for another man. After my shower, I glanced at the microwave. Its power cord wasn't even plugged in. I told Victoria I had to work late tonight and that she should go to bed first. Then I went into the spare bedroom and spent a sleepless night. The next morning, Victoria pounded on the door insistently. She demanded to know why I hadn't eaten the food from last night. "Sincere Clark, is this how you trample on my thoughtfulness?" After a sleepless night, my nerves were already frayed. Her sharp questioning grated on my already aching head. Naturally, my patience had worn thin. I told her, "You didn't even plug in the microwave last night. What was I supposed to eat?" At my words, Victoria pursed her lips, looking slightly embarrassed. She turned and walked towards the kitchen. "I made breakfast. Come and eat." It was always like this. Whenever she did something wrong, she'd become exceptionally nice to me, putting on a pleasant facade for a couple of days. After washing up, I sat down at the dining table. In front of Victoria were cute rabbit-shaped rice balls and rolled omelets. These were things she often made for me back when we first started dating. I never thought that, in an attempt to compensate for her impending departure, she would bring these dishes back out. I spoke up, "Pack up the rolled omelets. I'll take them to school to eat." Hearing this, Victoria's expression changed. She quickly hid the omelets behind her back. "What are you getting ideas about? These aren't for you." With that, she took the leftovers from the previous night out of the microwave and plopped them down in front of me. "You eat this." I froze, staring at the sticky, slightly sour-smelling food before me. I looked up at Victoria, my eyes filled with disbelief. "Why are you looking at me like that? I went out of my way to buy this for you. Are you planning on throwing it away? You have to finish it. Don't waste my effort." Finished speaking, she packed the rice balls and rolled omelets. Before leaving, she added, "I'll be finishing class late today, so don't wait up for me. I'll bring back food you like." The door slammed shut heavily. I looked around the empty house and casually dumped the food into the trash bin. I took out my phone and booked a train ticket, leaving on the same day as hers. Since she wanted to leave, I would grant her wish. Chapter 2. Victoria pursued me first. It was when I had just started teaching at the school. I was immediately assigned to teach the seniors' intensive college prep class, displacing their previous homeroom teacher. The students were unhappy with me, and other teachers viewed me with suspicion. Rumors spread that I was related to the school administration, brought in specifically to boost college admission rates for personal gain. I was isolated, unaccepted, and spent my days alone. That's when Victoria Bellwether appeared in my life. She ignored the rumors swirling around me and disregarded the strange looks from other teachers, choosing to walk alongside me. She told me she knew the previous teacher had been replaced due to character issues, and it had nothing to do with me. She assured me that with her around, I wouldn't be lonely. Over time, we grew closer, understood each other, and fell in love. I prepared lesson plans for her daily and brought her snacks. She would intentionally walk past my classroom during lessons, just to catch a glimpse of me. We carried on our relationship with a tacit understanding, eventually leading to marriage. At our wedding, I promised to love her, protect her, and never leave her side for my entire life. 8 years flashed by. I hadn't broken my promise, but she was the one who wanted to leave first. I looked at the successful booking confirmation on my phone. It was for a train heading in the exact opposite direction of hers. If this was how it was going to be, then let us be two lines that never intersect again. Let us never meet again in this lifetime. Chapter 3. That evening, Victoria sent me a message. She said she went out singing with friends. I didn't need to guess. It was likely another pre-arranged farewell gathering. I simply replied okay, without expressing concern, asking questions, or offering to pick her up. Lately, she had been going out every few days, returning home around 11 or midnight. If I urged her to come home, she would get angry. "Can't you give me some personal space? I told you I'm hanging out with friends. Why do you keep calling? It's annoying. If you're so bored, go do the laundry, mop the floor. There's plenty to do around the house. Are you waiting for me to do it?" When we were in love, she would cling to me, her small body snuggled in my arms, saying sweetly, "I just love sticking to you. Being with friends isn't as happy as being with you. I don't care. I want to stick to you forever. Don't you dare get annoyed with me." Now that the love was gone, even a simple word of care from me felt like a shackle restricting her freedom in her eyes. So why should I seek out unhappiness? However, I looked at the time. It was already 2:30 a.m. Ultimately, I still worried about her. I called her to ask when she was coming back. The call connected. The background was noisy, with voices and loud music drowning out conversation. I couldn't hear clearly and asked again where she was. There was a loud bang on the other end. I heard Victoria's best friend ask her, "Vicky, you really are a pure love warrior, aren't you? How many years has it been since you and Ethan Hayes broke up? He says one word, and you drop everything here to join him teaching in that remote place for 15 years. But keeping this from your husband, aren't you afraid he'll divorce you?" Victoria sounded like she had been drinking. Her words were somewhat incoherent, but I understood her meaning clearly. Divorce? If I dared to make this decision, I never planned on continuing with him. If it wasn't because he can't seem to live without me, why would I need to put on this act before leaving? A few girls laughed along. True, after all, back then you were the light of his life. I bet he won't even be angry. He might even beg you not to divorce him. Yeah, given how devoted he is to me, if he knew I was going away to teach for 15 years, he'd probably offer to wait for me for 15 years. I laughed until tears streamed down my face. The light of his life? Did she think she was some kind of superhero? Back then, I was indeed grateful she appeared in my life. But just because of a calculated act of kindness years ago, she expected me to abandon my dignity, give up my self-respect, to willingly become a dog at her side? That I couldn't do. Chapter 4. I stumbled upon Ethan Hayes' photo unintentionally. She had hidden it for so many years. Perhaps anticipating the reunion with her white moonlight, she planned to use the photo to pour out her years of deep affection. In the picture, I saw a young man in a white shirt, hands in his pockets, head tilted back, revealing a mole beneath his neck. Its position was identical to the mole on my own neck. Only then did I understand why she always stared blankly at me, why she always liked to kiss that mole during intimate moments, why she liked me to wear white shirts. So many whys were answered in that instant. She was looking at someone else through me. So, when she turned her back on everyone to approach me back then, was it out of genuine sympathy or something else entirely? I couldn't know for sure. But I had been with her for 8 years. In those 8 years, I fulfilled all the duties of a husband. I considered my debt to her repaid. I hung up the phone, since she was determined to leave me. I no longer wanted to willingly debase myself. That night, Victoria did not come home. The next day, the living room was filled with chatter. I faintly heard the voices of Victoria's parents, Arthur and Eleanor Bellwether, and her younger sister Chloe. "Vicky, dear, I hear the conditions in the countryside are very basic. Mom worries about you. Here, take all these things with you. If you need anything, remember to tell Mom, okay? Oh, Mom, Sis is going to teach. It's a good thing." "Why are you crying?" Chloe interjected. Arthur Bellwether also spoke up. "Vicky, are you really not planning to tell Sincere about this teaching commitment? What if he doesn't agree?" Victoria fell silent. After a long pause, she finally answered, "I'll leave without saying goodbye. As for what happens next, he can decide for himself." Hearing this, the others sighed collectively. Ultimately, they chose to respect Victoria's decision. "Although we feel sorry for Sincere, you are our daughter. We support your decision. As long as you feel happy, that's what matters," Arthur said. Her sister Chloe added, "Sis, whatever you decide, we support you, because we're family." Family? So, after being married to Victoria for 8 years, I still wasn't considered worthy of being part of their family? In the past, their vague sense of distance towards me always made me think I wasn't doing enough. But in reality, they were intentionally keeping me at arm's length, afraid I would take Ethan Hayes' place. They all knew Victoria loved Ethan, and I was just the choice forced upon her when she had no other option. At this moment, I finally understood. Leaving me wasn't an impulsive decision by Victoria. It was the result of careful consideration. Chapter 5. I opened the door. All voices abruptly ceased. They stared at me in surprise as I emerged from the spare bedroom. Victoria's pupils contracted sharply. After a long moment, her voice trembled as she asked, "You didn't go to work?" I replied calmly, "The schedule changed. I don't have classes today." I had told her about the schedule change already, but lost in the excitement of seeing Ethan Hayes soon, she had completely forgotten. "So, when did you wake up? Did you hear what we were saying?" I walked towards the bathroom, a faint smile playing on my lips. "What were you saying?" Seeing my untroubled expression, Victoria relaxed. "Nothing, Mom and Dad just came by to see me. They'll be leaving soon. Aren't they staying for lunch?" They waved their hands dismissively. No, we just dropped off the things and we'll be going. We don't want to disturb you two." They left in a hurry. Victoria ordered me around. Since you're not working, help me sort through these things. My head hurts. I'm going to lie down for a bit." With that, she went into the bedroom, leaving me staring at the chaotic mess on the floor. Cold-proof gloves, fleece-lined clothes, bed linens, toothbrush, towels, a first aid kit. I let out a scoff and walked out. There were 3 days left until departure. Today, the school administration approved my transfer request. I needed to go back to school to handle some paperwork. In the office, David Miller, a male colleague I was friendly with, expressed his regret. "You're transferring so far away. Does Teacher Bellwether know?" "She'll find out on the very day I leave." Chapter 6. When I got home after packing my things from school, Victoria was still asleep. The items on the floor remained untouched. Her phone, left on the coffee table, kept ringing incessantly. I picked it up, subconsciously trying to unlock it with my fingerprint. It failed. The passcode was also incorrect. I gave a bitter smile. Right, she was preparing to leave me. Changing the passcode and deleting my fingerprint was understandable. Perhaps seeing that Victoria hadn't replied, the caller tried again. I answered. A deep voice spoke. "Vicky, I'll pick you up the day after tomorrow. You can stay with me then. I'll be able to protect you better." "Oh, right, Vicky. Can you bring a few special outfits? You know, I've been here almost 10 years. The women in the countryside don't know how to dress. They're plain and unattractive. Just looking at them makes me lose my appetite. I sent you pictures of the clothes. Make sure you remember to bring them." Noticing the silence on my end, Ethan Hayes finally asked, "Vicky, why aren't you saying anything? Is that man near you?" A slow smile spread across my face. She's asleep. Now, it was his turn to be silent. He made me uncomfortable. I needed to give him a little shock too, and the effect was just as I expected. He hung up. By the time I had finished packing my luggage and placed it in the spare room, Victoria woke up. Seeing the mess covering the floor, anger flared within her. "Sincere Clark, I asked you to tidy up the living room. Why didn't you? And you said marrying you meant I would enjoy life. Now I just ask you to help me tidy up a bit, and you're unwilling?" I looked at her. From the moment she decided to leave, she had changed. She became impatient, quick-tempered. My mere presence seemed to anger her. I didn't argue with her about it. I simply told her, "Your phone kept ringing." Her eyes widened suddenly. She scrambled in her slippers to grab the phone. Seeing the unread messages, she looked up at me, suspicious and guilty. "Oh, didn't read the messages, did you?" "Had changed the passcode. I couldn't read them even if I wanted to." Hearing me mention this, Victoria tried to explain. I just... She stammered for a while but couldn't come up with a reason. I didn't want to listen to her nonsense anymore. I stared intently at her face, observing the series of expressions born from her guilt. I spoke. "Victoria, actually, if you want to leave, I won't stop you. You really don't need to—" Before I could finish, Victoria interrupted. "What nonsense are you talking about? How could I leave? Where would I go if I left? Don't listen to rumors all day." My heart felt heavy and suffocated like waterlogged cotton. This was Victoria. Doubt her, refute her, correct her. Her immediate reaction was always denial, followed by shifting the blame back onto me. The atmosphere grew thick with tension. I broke the awkward silence. "Victoria, you're leaving, aren't you?" Victoria frowned. "What do you mean I'm leaving? Where would I go?" "Sincere Clark, when did you become so petty? This whole thing is your fault, and you still—" Once time, I cut her off. "I heard what you and your parents said the other day." Victoria's heart skipped a beat. A sudden wave of panic washed over her. "Sincere, what are you talking about?" I repeated, "Son, I heard the conversation between you and your parents that day." Chapter 7. Victoria panicked. She grabbed my hand. "Insincere, I was just talking casually that day. Don't believe it. I won't leave." I shook her hand off. "You won't leave? Aren't you going to that remote teaching post?" Hearing this, Victoria reacted as if her tail had been stepped on, quickly defending herself. "And the school ordered me to go teach there." I didn't tell you because I was afraid you'd be upset, and am only going for 10 days or half a month. I'll be back soon, really." My heart scoffed endlessly. Even at this point, she was still lying to me. "Sincere Clark, don't forget, you said you would love me forever. And just going to teach for a short period. You're not willing to wait for me? Don't forget, when you were isolated by everyone, I was the only one who stood by your side. Throughout our marriage, whenever we argued, she would use the same excuse to silence me. But as I said, 8 years had passed. I no longer owed her anything." "I understand. Go ahead. I won't stop you." I couldn't be bothered to argue with her anymore. Even now, Victoria ridiculously assumed I would wait for her. She was still ridiculously deceiving me, trying to keep me as a fallback option, a backup plan. Even for 15 years, she confidently believed I would stay put, remaining faithful to her. But she was wrong. This time, I wouldn't wait for her anymore. On the last day before leaving, I had the mole on my neck removed. It left a small, dark scab that would fall off in a few days. Things were out in the open with Victoria. On my final day before departure, I slept in a hotel. During that time, Victoria sent me a message. "Sincere, I'll only be gone a short while. Wait for me." I called another person. "Ethan Hayes molested students. Is this information reliable?" I asked. The person on the other end, Leo Foster, replied, "He was transferred here because of that exact issue. If he didn't have connections higher up, it would have blown up long ago." "Okay, thank you. I'll treat you to dinner sometime." After hanging up, I looked again at Victoria's message. I replied, "Hope you don't regret it." Chapter 8. The next day, Victoria and I met on the train platform. She was on the phone, but when she turned and saw me, she hung up and walked over, her tone seemingly laced with pleasant surprise. "Sincere, are you here to see me off? I knew you were just saying things in anger. How could you possibly divorce me?" I told her, "I'm not here to see you off." Victoria grabbed my arm, refusing to believe me. "If you're not here to see me off, then why are you here?" The crowd surged, revealing the luggage at my feet. Victoria looked at the 2 suitcases behind me. She frowned. "What do you mean by this? Are you planning to come teach with me?" I answered vaguely, something like that. Except her teaching assignment was as a teacher in the mountains, while my transfer was to become a deputy principal in a rural village. If Victoria initially felt any guilt towards me, that vanished the moment she assumed I intended to follow her. Disregarding the public setting, she erupted at me. "Sincere Clark, are you bloody sick I'm going off to teach, and you have to follow me? We've been married for 8 years, don't you trust me at all? Can't you give me some freedom, show me some trust? I know hiding this teaching plan from you was wrong, but I only did it because I was afraid you wouldn't agree. Why do you have to make things so difficult?" She accused me with reddened eyes, as if I truly were some perverted control freak, as if I were trying to stop her from doing this noble deed for the country and its people. People around us started murmuring. My train was about to arrive. Since I was leaving anyway, I didn't want to leave room for gossip. In front of everyone, I pulled Ethan Hayes' photo from her pocket. "Isn't he the reason you're running off to teach?" Then I produced proof of her abortion. "Victoria, I haven't said anything, but don't take me for a fool. Our destinations are diametrically opposed. Once I arrive, I will mail you the divorce papers." "Oh, and Ethan Hayes' secrets? I'll send those along too." "You're welcome." With that, I picked up my suitcases and, under her stunned gaze as she was still processing my words, boarded the train heading in the complete opposite direction from hers. Chapter 9. As the train slowly pulled away, I saw Victoria board her train as well. The time was right. I compiled the documents my friend had sent me the previous night and forwarded a copy to Victoria. She immediately messaged back, asking what it was. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the documents to the Education Bureau. 30 minutes later, Victoria called. I answered, greeted by her hysterical questioning, "Sincere Clark, are you trying to be funny? Just because I'm going to teach, you frame Ethan like this? I've known him for so many years, he could never be that kind of person. I really misjudged you. I can't believe you'd fabricate such lies just to keep me by your side. I won't believe you." She abruptly hung up. Having been with her for 8 years, I knew she was already beginning to doubt. If she truly believed Ethan was innocent, she wouldn't have made that call. However, this would also be our last call. I blocked all her contact methods, closing my eyes for a brief rest. My memory drifted far back, to the time I was preparing to propose to Victoria. To make it a surprise, I intentionally didn't answer her calls that day, afraid I'd let something slip. Unable to reach me all day, Victoria frantically contacted all our mutual friends. Because I had asked our friends to play along, they all claimed they hadn't seen me. Victoria panicked, thinking something terrible had happened to me. She ran to the police station to report me missing. Later, when she learned it was all a misunderstanding for the proposal, Victoria sobbed uncontrollably in my arms. "I thought something happened to you. Why didn't you answer my calls?" She pounded my chest with her fists, her distress melting my heart. Cupping her face, I promised her from now on I will never miss a single call from you. I will make sure you can always contact me, always find me. I will never make you sad again. Please stop crying, okay? But 8 years passed. The promise remained. Yet love had warped over time. Her calls became fewer, her replies brief and to the point. She could always reach me, but I could no longer find the Victoria I once knew. Chapter 10. After getting off the train, the local officials greeted me warmly. They took me to my accommodation. Although it was the countryside, recent rural economic development meant paved roads and reasonably comfortable lives for the families here. The main issue was that most teachers preferred to work in big cities. Those occasionally transferred here would often leave as soon as their term ended, leading to a dwindling number of elementary school teachers in the village. Often one teacher had to handle multiple subjects. My colleague teaching the same class was a female teacher named Megan Davis. She was a recent university graduate. When I asked why she chose to come here, she told me, "This is my hometown. The community sent me out to get an education, so naturally I must come back to help send the next generation out." She then asked me why I chose to come, and when I planned to leave. For a moment I didn't know how to answer. She sensed my discomfort and didn't press further. After spending a few days here, I was touched by the children's simplicity and the villagers' warmth. I genuinely felt an urge to stay, especially with the children bringing me little trinkets every day, and the villagers greeting me warmly, inviting me to their homes for meals. They showed no reservation towards me, treating me like family from the moment I arrived. I just didn't expect Victoria to contact me. Over the past couple of days, she must have personally experienced Ethan Hayes' reputation at the school where he taught. She must have realized the information I sent her wasn't fabricated. She sent me a long text message from an unknown number. The content was mostly apologies for misjudging me, along with an explanation for why she had hidden her true reasons for insisting on the teaching post. Apparently, she initially believed Ethan had been suddenly assigned there because he had offended school leaders, becoming isolated and excluded. That's why, seeing me similarly isolated back then, she felt a sense of compassion. She said that failing to stand by Ethan back then left her with regret, and my appearance helped fill that void. Now, she finally knew the truth. Ethan was sent away because he harassed a female teacher. He should have been fired, but due to his connections to Director Thompson, he was merely transferred to a remote area. Unexpectedly, Ethan hadn't changed his ways. He acted like a local tyrant there. Furthermore, Ethan was married. I knew all of this already. From the moment I found Victoria's train ticket, I had been secretly investigating Ethan Hayes. Chapter 11. My former college roommate, Leo Foster, was born in that region. I asked him to help me investigate Ethan Hayes. His response, "Ethan doesn't need investigating. Everyone here knows him. He harasses female students and teachers all the time. Many parents are too scared to send their kids to the school, and female teachers don't dare come here anymore. Plus, within his first month here, he got the female teacher who came with him pregnant. The kid's almost 10 now, So, what exactly is love? Victoria and I were married for 8 years, yet just one word from Ethan, and she was willing to abandon me for the mountains. Ethan and Victoria were first loves, but one married me, and the other had a child with another woman. Love? Perhaps it was love, but they didn't want to love just one person. I turned off my phone. Just then Megan Davis came over, saying the pomelos at her house were ripe and asking me to go back with her to pick some for my place. I agreed. On the way back, I unexpectedly ran into Victoria. I wasn't surprised she found me. We had been together too long, shared accounts, mutual friends. A simple search or question would reveal my location, but just a week apart, she looked considerably haggard, her eyes bloodshot. Seeing me, her eyes instantly reddened. She approached, intending to grab me, but retracted her hand upon seeing my cold expression. Sincere, I was wrong. Please forgive me, okay? I can explain everything. I was deceived too. Even now, she still tried to use being deceived as an excuse. But it takes two to tango. If Ethan hadn't been married, if he didn't have a child, if she hadn't discovered she was deceived, would she have come looking for me? I voiced this question. Victoria's eyes darted away. She knew the answer. Yet she still tried to deceive me. Sincere, I really do love you. Love? What right did she have left to talk about love? Victoria, from the moment you aborted our child, your love for me was already gone. Stop deceiving yourself. Ultimately, you and Ethan Hayes are the same kind of people. You can't let go of the other person, but you don't want to compromise your own comfort either. Victoria frantically tried to explain, grabbing my arm. No, it's not like that. I never really thought about divorcing you. No, you just never thought I would actually agree to divorce you. You were certain I wouldn't leave you. Victoria, we are over. If you didn't come here this time to discuss the divorce, then please leave. After 2 years of separation, I can file for divorce myself. Megan, standing beside me, had gathered the gist of the situation and understood why I was here. She turned to Victoria and said bluntly, "You want your cake and eat it too. That's the kind of woman you are, a two-timer. If this were the old days, you'd be punished severely for this." Her words were rough but true. I couldn't help but smile slightly. Victoria looked at the young woman in her early 20s behind me, released her grip on me, and rushed towards Megan. "Who are you? Why are you with my husband?" Megan wasn't intimidated. "I'm Mr. Clark's colleague," she stated calmly. "Colleague?" Victoria's suspicious gaze flickered between us, finally landing on the pomelos we both held. "Sincere Clark. All right, I knew it. You suddenly ran off this far. It was for her, wasn't it? You want to divorce me because of her, don't you?" I felt irritated. Her baseless accusations and unreasonable tantrum, especially with local villagers around, risked starting harmful gossip. I stepped in front of Megan, warning Victoria, "Do you think everyone is like you? I came here simply because I never wanted to see you again. It has nothing to do with anyone else." Chapter 12. I had never yelled at Victoria like that before. She froze for a moment, her eyes welling up, tears beginning to fall. "Sincere, I was wrong about this. However many years you stay here, I'll wait for you, okay? Let's not get divorced. I'm willing to wait, no matter how many years." As she spoke, she tried to move closer to hug me. Suddenly, a voice from behind called out to her sharply. Ethan Hayes, furious, grabbed Victoria's hair, forcefully pulling her away from me. "Vicky, didn't you say you liked me? Why are you leaving me?" This was the first time I saw Ethan Hayes in person. He was obese, with a prominent beer belly. His eyes were cloudy and small. The mole on his neck was pressed between folds of fat, with the dark hair growing out of it. He looked worlds apart from the photo. It seemed 10 years had changed not only feelings but appearances as well. Victoria flailed, trying to escape Ethan's grasp, but her 90-pound frame was like a small sparrow against his bulk, completely ineffective. She could only turn her pleading eyes towards me. "Sincere, save me, help me." I watched the unfolding drama, detached. "Didn't you say you wouldn't regret it?" That night, after I sent that final text, she was the one who replied, "Absolutely not. Chapter 13. I didn't expect Ethan Hayes to come looking for me that evening. I watched the chair groan precariously under his weight, fearing it would collapse. I was curious. Leo Foster had told me his hometown was designated a poverty-stricken area. How did Ethan manage to stay there for 10 years and still end up so burly? Curiosity aside, I asked him what he wanted. Ethan crossed his legs arrogantly and got straight to the point. "You reported me, didn't you?" I didn't deny it. "Honestly, I've wanted out of that place for ages. There's nothing there, just a bunch of uncivilized people. You look at them twice and they accuse you of harassment. So unsophisticated. Not like city girls, slim waists, fair legs. Much easier on the eyes." I frowned, unsure what he meant by saying this. Did he not understand the seriousness of reporting sexual harassment and forcing female teachers into relations with him? Or did he think being reported meant he could return to the city? Clearly he thought it was the latter. It seemed a few years in the mountains had addled his brain. He'd forgotten even basic laws. Seeing my silence, he rubbed his belly, a strange smile on his face. "But you cost me my job. I have to get some revenge, right? Tonight your wife is mine." He left as abruptly and bizarrely as he had arrived. That night I heard Victoria's miserable screams and the sickening sounds of Ethan's abuse. Undisturbed, I put on earplugs and went to sleep. The next morning, Ethan swaggered past my door triumphantly, leaving Victoria on the bed, her face a mask of utter dejection. Her vacant eyes met mine. Tears streamed down her face as she slowly mouthed, "I'm sorry." Chapter 14. Victoria submitted the video of Ethan's assault from the previous night to the Education Bureau. The Bureau had already received evidence regarding Ethan's molestation of students and female teachers, but the term molestation could be interpreted broadly, requiring careful verification. However, with this video evidence, combined with the fact that this happened within Victoria's first week at the school, the Education Bureau paid close attention. Through meticulous investigation, they uncovered that Ethan's relative, Director Thompson, had been protecting him all along. Director Thompson was removed from his post and Ethan was prosecuted. During the proceedings, Ethan's wife, Mrs. Hayes, testified alongside her child. She stated that she only married Ethan because he had raped her, forcing the marriage. After the child was born, Ethan regularly beat both her and the child. Medical reports documenting their injuries served as proof. Now Ethan was facing at least 3 to 5 years in prison. As for Victoria, after Ethan was imprisoned, she left me a letter and signed divorce papers. She said she planned to return to the remote teaching school. I already made the wrong choice once. This time, I don't want to be wrong again. Sincere, I will change. Wait for me. I sighed and signed my name on the divorce papers. I mailed them to Victoria via the post office. As for waiting for her, that was a matter for the future, best left for the future to decide. Chapter 15. 2 years later. I received a phone call from Victoria. Her voice was cautious, as if afraid I would hang up at any second. "Sincere, have you been doing well lately?" I replied, "Very well. I plan to stay here permanently." There was a pause on the other end before she asked, "Is it because of her, that girl?" I had moved past the events from before and could patiently explain, "It's because I like it here. The children here need me." Her voice choked with emotion. "Sincere, I know you haven't forgiven me. Back then I shouldn't have left you for someone like him. Sincere, I regret it. Let's get back together. These past 2 years I haven't been happy at all. I wanted to contact you so many times, but I was scared. Scared you'd say you don't love me anymore. Scared you wouldn't want to see me. It's been 2 years. Can we start over?" I refused. "Victoria, I don't love you anymore. That's the truth. But I don't resent you either. Time doesn't erase everything, but it allows people to forget, to become more accepting, to try and move on." She broke down crying on the other end like a pitiful, abandoned soul. "Sincere, it turns out I was the one who couldn't leave you." Just as she finished speaking, Megan Davis rushed in holding a book. "Teacher Clark, your next class is about to start. The kids are waiting." I nodded. speaking into the phone to Victoria. If there's nothing else, I need to hang up. I have a class to teach. Amidst Victoria's silence, I ended the call. Megan handed me a bag of lollipops. Don't forget the candies you promised the kids last class. I thanked her, then walked into the classroom carrying my books. Seeing the lollipops in my hand, the students jumped up one by one, shouting, "Teacher Clark, we love you so much." I smiled and asked the class monitor to distribute the sweets. The students knew gratitude. I had found my value. So, there are things in this world more worthwhile than romantic love. I now had an answer to the question Megan had asked me before: to use my humble strength to help send these children out of the mountains.